True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is September 12th, 2024 right now. The weather, it's still, even though it's September, shockingly, it's still way too hot here. It is like summer again. It was cool for a little, tricked us, still very hot.
We had a crazy wind and rainstorm last night. Like, it's been so hot and beautiful. Then all of a sudden yesterday it was just like winter again. But the wind last night was, Luella's like, what's that noise? It was crazy. So yeah, very, very windy and rainy. I feel like the wind makes everyone and even animals go crazy. Like when it's really windy, everyone acts wild.
Yeah, it's true because everyone's just like bugging out.
I remember when the kids were little and someone said to me, like, when it was windy, they're like, it's an actual thing. Like the wind really affects kids and makes them go a bit loopy.
Yeah, I can imagine because it makes me want to go loopy. So I've been having like a weird day today. Not like a weird day, but I mean, for one, I talked about this more on Patreon. I got my arm stuck between my wall and my sectional couch, and I almost like had to call someone to come and help me because I was alone and I couldn't move the couch and it was stuck. So that was one thing. But before that, I think this is something girls have talked about before. I said girls have talked about before. It's something that definitely women in general have spoken about in the world. So to work, I normally don't wear like my normal everyday clothes because if I'm doing 3D printing, I can get like resin on me and that'll stain my clothes and it'll never come out. And also I work in a dental lab. So there's a lot of dust from the milling machines and you could just get like dirty. So I usually just wear like leggings and like some type of t-shirt or a scrub top or something. But then there's days once in a while where I know I don't have to be in the 3D printing room. And I just feel like wearing my normal clothes just to like remind everyone like, yeah, like sometimes I can look cute. So today was one of those days, mostly because I washed all my leggings last night and they were still kind of damp, some of them. I was like, I'll just wear like jeans, and I wear bodysuits a lot. Like they look like t-shirts, but they just stay tucked in, like not anything crazy. I did my makeup the same, honestly, and my hair is the same always because I don't do anything to it. If anything, I just like showered last night, so maybe I looked like a little more put together than if I shower every other day or something. And it was one of those days where so many people were like, you look nice today. Wow, you decided to dress up today? Or like, you look really good today. Like what'd you do different or something? Where I'm like, so what? Do I just look like fucking shit every other day? I just wear normal clothes one time and everyone's like, she cleaned up.
It's because where I work, it's quite casual. Like I'm the only female in the office generally. Everyone else is male. They wear like shorts. Sometimes they walk around the office barefoot. Like it's very, very casual. I'm never that casual. But some days, like, so some days I wear jeans. In summer, sometimes I wear shorts. But I always look probably like smart casual. But if I ever decide, today I'm going to wear a nice dress, they're like, where are you going? Have you got a job interview?
Yeah, that's what everyone was asking me. They were like, oh, what, you got something to do after work today? I was like, no. I was like honestly,
I remember once I was going out straight after work to I think I was going to see Moulin Rouge in the city, and so I said, I'm going to that. And they're like, yeah, I thought there must be a reason why you look like that. I'm like, oh. Nice.
I don't know. Some days I wake up late and I don't have enough time, so I just like throw something on. Some days I can't sleep, so I get up early and I'm like, might as well like look like a person today. But it's funny because it's like how I dress when I'm just not at work. It's just a normal outfit, and they're all like, someone's dressed up. And I'm like, what? But I remember I've seen it online where it's like, because I've always been someone who wears makeup if I'm like seeing people or if I'm going out, I try to wear makeup like most of the time because I mean, really, I'm just insecure and I have bad skin. And I've always worn makeup. So when you always wear makeup and then one day you don't or wear less, people are like, are you sick?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Why do you look different?
But
what's happening?
Yeah. And then my sister's the opposite, where she like wears light makeup maybe, or like never really wore a lot of makeup. And then when she does wear makeup, people are like, oh my God, you look so stunning, amazing, beautiful. But you should, and also it's mostly men because I think women know better. If a woman isn't wearing makeup or looks tired, you don't need to tell her. She fucking knows.
Yeah, everyone knows.
We know. We know we look like shit, okay? Curious if other people have had things like that happen to them. I'm sure everyone has, all the ladies. So yeah, that's been my day. Let's see, what updates do we have? We do have an update on Brian Koberger. Did we talk about on here that they changed the venue?
I think we were talking about last episode that they had petitioned to change the venue. Like they'd gone to
Not
court.
that they did.
No, so they have since out that last episode, they've now confirmed that the venue will be changed.
Okay. So yeah, Brian Koberger updates. The venue is going to be changed in that trial with the University of Idaho quadruple murders. Judge John Judge ruled on this. Judge. We'll miss him. So he said, considering the undisputed evidence presented by the defense, the extreme nature of the news coverage in this case, and the smaller population in the county, the defense has met the rather low standard of demonstrating a reasonable likelihood that prejudicial news coverage will compromise a fair trial in Latah County. Thus, the court will grant Koberger's motion to change venue for presumed prejudice. So the new location wasn't immediately clear or known. The decision was left up to Idaho's highest court. The lawyers for Brian Koberger pushed to move the trial to Boise, arguing the local jury pool in the county, in Latah County, which encompasses Moscow, was tainted by publicity. And the trial is set to begin on June 2nd, 2025, and run until August 29th, 2025. And the judge said in June that if the venue changed, the trial date would still hold. A new judge has been appointed named Judge Stephen Hippler. Wait, there's a location now.
Is there?
Yeah, I posted it today.
Oh, I didn't see
that.
that.
Look, I thought that was in there.
I only saw that the judge. I must have missed a bit about the new trial.
So it came out today that the case is being transferred to Ada County, which is in Boise, Idaho.
So when it was announced that Brian's petition had been granted, Kaylee, one of the victims, her family made a statement. So they're very vocal. They've got a page for themselves where they post updates and their thoughts about the trial process and all that type of thing. I won't read the whole statement because it's very long, but basically they are not happy that this has happened. It says, the family is incredibly disappointed in the judge's ruling granting the change of venue. The only good thing about it is that it will be judge's last decision on the case. The family has always felt that Judge favored the defense, and it was a common theme that whatever the defense wanted or needed, they got. And basically then it goes into, as victim's family, you are left to just watch like everyone else, and really you have little rights or say in the process, and at the same time you are the most vested in the outcome. We have always felt that a fair and impartial jury could be found in Latah County, and still believe that this is where the trial deserves to be held to help the community heal. So they aren't happy with it. I personally think moving it was absolutely the right choice. I know it's disappointing for Kaylee's family, but I feel like by doing this, it lessens the chance of a mistrial. He deserves, even though he's a loser, he deserves a fair trial. I feel like everyone just wants this to be done and sorted, and for him to get the punishment that he deserves if he did it, which I'm confident that he did. But I feel like by moving it, it kind of will aid in the fair trial process.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of people online, instinct is to be upset about it, but it's true, and kind of leads into our next brief subject of Scott Peterson, because this could kind of prevent Brian Koberger and the whole trial with that turning into a Scott Peterson situation where it's just like contested for years. It's going to be more of like a fair trial, whereas right now we're kind of dealing with backlash about our Scott Peterson, not really backlash, about the Scott Peterson episode, about all of his supporters are still very passionate about the cause and still are bringing up about how his trial wasn't fair and all of that. So just thinking about what Lacey Peterson's family has gone through all of these years, and it's still going on, and there's still people like fighting about this trial. hopefully moving the venue is one less thing that people will be able to talk about one day of being like, okay, but he didn't get a fair trial. So I just think it's for the best.
When they announced that it was going to be moved and Judge, it just makes me laugh. It's such a funny name. Judge was taken off the case. One of my thoughts was, I wonder how he feels about this, because he had his YouTube channel ready to go. He was ready for this to be the trial of his career, and now it's not happening anymore.
Yeah, and we did want to talk a little bit about Scott Peterson.
So the Lacey Peterson episode has only been out for not even a day yet. So we have had some messages from people who are Scott supporters, which I was expecting that we would get. We know in this case there are two very passionate sides, I guess. There's the people who are adamant that Scott is not guilty, and there's those who are convinced of his guilt. Yeah, it is an interesting discussion. Like, we had some messages today from someone, but a lot of the things they addressed in terms of Scott's innocence, I also felt that, or he's not, him being not guilty, I also felt that there was a lot of things they left out that we discussed in regards to his guilt, like in terms of, like, for instance, calling Amber from the vigil and saying he was in France. Like, there's a whole bunch of things for both sides. I feel like it could be back and forth forever, ongoing. There's like, I feel like people are never going to agree, and that's fine. Like, if you've done the research and you believe Scott is not guilty, that's your prerogative. But I feel like it's just one of those cases where there's probably not much middle ground. There's either not guilty or guilty, and very, very strong opinions on both sides.
Yeah, and I'm fine with people thinking that. Obviously, everyone can have their own opinion, but you don't need to, like, message us and be rude and act like we're fucking stupid idiots, because we did do a ton of research. Olivia specifically does a ton of research, but over the years, I've seen all these arguments about how Scott is innocent. Do I think some are interesting? Yes. Do I totally agree with the story that the prosecution came up with, that's like 100% exactly what happened? I don't exactly know what happened, but I still think, based on what's been presented and what's known, I still think he did it. So, and I'm not on the jury, so it doesn't matter. I understand people saying, like, yes, maybe you could argue that it wasn't proved beyond a reasonable doubt, but the jury decided it was, and that's that. And maybe if he has another trial and gets it again, I don't know. But, like, I get what people are saying in that sense, but I still personally think, regardless, that he's guilty, and that's my opinion. And I'm not saying this like, well, in the, like, legal world and all the legal things that apply to it. It's just my opinion, my personal opinion, which I'm allowed to have.
In the end, too, he had a very high-profile attorney. He's like, and I feel like, too, the high-profileness of his case didn't help his case in the end. Like, he was absolutely tried in the court of public opinion. I believe probably rightfully so, but I know that some people don't believe that. But in the end, he had a trial. He had his legal experience. He had a 50-50 chance probably of, being freed, being exonerated, or going to jail. And the jury believed that he was guilty, so he's in jail. So I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where no one, many people are not going to agree on the outcome. And no matter what, even if he does get a new trial and he ends up somehow being exonerated, like, it's people are never, ever, ever going to agree on this outcome, no matter what it is.
Yeah. My thing is, you just don't need to message and be rude about it, because I could do the same thing back to you with the points that I believe are against Scott. Yeah. Like, that are him being guilty.
And the other thing is, too, like, in the episode we mentioned that our podcast format is a 1-hour episode. We picked out the things that were most talked about, most high profile in the case, the things that could be verified or had been documented at least. So, like, a lot of the things that I've had messages about, they're like, what about this? And what about this? And I'm like, but that's nowhere. Like, this is just, people assuming or doing their own online investigation, or their own, voicing their own assumptions and their own opinions. It's just one of those things where it's a minefield that you could spend your whole life on, basically.
Yeah, and we also said in the episode, we're not like a deep dive. Like, we are a deep-ish dive podcast, but with cases like this, you can have a whole series. There's Netflix series on this. There's podcasts that are many episodes just on this case. Like, that's not us. And if you're looking for something like that, there's tons of options, I'm sure. It's a massive case, but we've always been more of a casual, lighter podcast, especially with bigger ones like this. we'd have to do multiple episodes on it, and that's not our podcast.
I do find it
So
interesting, like in the, however many hours, let's say 20 hours-ish the podcast's been out for, we've had a few messages from people who believe Scott is not guilty, but I would say we've had double the amount of people saying, yep, absolutely, totally guilty.
yeah,
I agree. So I don't know. It's just an interesting discussion to have.
that's that. And I know this will come out a week from today, but I'm not arguing with anyone about this anymore.
So before we get into the episode, we wanted to tell you about a podcast we've really been enjoying lately. It's called Two Girls, One Ghost. Would you believe us if we told you that there was a podcast that was haunted? Hosts Corinne and Sabrina didn't want to believe it at first, but 7 years later and hundreds of encounters submitted by listeners later, they can no longer ignore it. Two Girls, One Ghost is the most haunted podcast in America. We're talking ghosts. EVPs in episodes, spirits making contact with listeners, orbs darting through their YouTube videos, and so much more. Paranormal enthusiasts Sabrina and Corinne explore the deepest, darkest, spookiest places in the world, delivering doses of research, history, and spine-tingling tales.
If possessed kids crawling backwards up walls, campers entranced in fairy orgies, and creatures chasing drivers down back roads is your thing, tune in to Two Girls, One Ghost wherever you listen to podcasts. There's new episodes that are released every Thursday and Sunday, and you can now join Sabrina and Corinne every Tuesday on Patreon and share your own haunting tale live on their campfire stories. Join the summer-ween trend and satisfy your spooky itch with Two Girls, One Ghost, but be warned, side effects might include a haunting or two. Listen at your own risk. I think this is such an awesome idea for a podcast. I'm jealous I didn't think of it because when I was younger, I used to love going ghost hunting with one of my friends. We'd always go into like abandoned houses with our little magnetic frequency detectors and the Ouija board. It was a fun time. So I love this, and you guys should definitely go check it out. Again, it's Two Girls, One Ghost podcast. So today we are going to talk about some poisoning cases. We've done a few episodes on this. There's Erin Patterson, who was the Australian woman with the poisonous mushroom dinner, which we still haven't heard much going on.
She hasn't been back in court yet. I feel like she's due soonish. But yeah, she murdered 3 people, allegedly by feeding them mushrooms in a beef Wellington that she'd, poisonous mushrooms that she'd foraged. So
yeah,
a very wild case.
We also did an episode on the dentist James Craig, who was poisoning his wife with cyanide. Her name was Angela. That was another wild one. It's just crazy what people think they can get away with. And there's the trial's going on right now. She wrote the children's book.
Oh yeah, Corey Richards. Corey Richards?
Yeah.
Yeah, she poisoned her husband with fentanyl, I believe. So
yeah. So we're going to talk about a few more cases like that today. We're going to talk about 3 different ones. There's a case where there was a man who attempted to poison his wife's Coca-Cola so that he could sleep with her daughter. An attorney husband who put abortion medication in his pregnant wife's beverages. And a paramedic murdered her millionaire husband by forcing him to ingest eye drops. So a lot of interesting things going on there, to say the least. So we'll start with the first one. It's about Indiana man Alfred Ruf.
A 71-year-old man from Wayne County, Indiana, east of Indianapolis, sentenced to 4 years in prison for poisoning his wife with cocaine. He said he was trying to kill her so he could marry his stepdaughter. Alfred Ruff's wife reported him to police back in 2022, telling police she thought that she was being poisoned. It came after she ended up in the hospital testing positive from drugs she denied taking, including cocaine and MDMA. Ruff pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 5 years of probation.
So he has been sentenced to 4 years in prison after he attempted multiple times to murder his wife, Lisa Bishop. And this is another one where the headlines have been going around about this one because it's just shocking, honestly. It's one of those ones where you're like, wait, did I read that right?
The audacity, it's crazy.
Alfred allegedly wanted to kill his wife, Lisa, so that he could marry her daughter, so essentially his stepdaughter, technically. Yeah. We believe that Alfred is around 20 years older than Lisa, so he's around 71. And she is 51, we think.
Yeah. So you assume the daughter would probably be 20s, like mid-20s to early 30s-ish, probably. It's hard to find because the daughter hasn't really been named publicly anywhere. But if the wife is 51 or, the daughter's mother is 51, you would assume there's probably around 20, 25 years gap
Yeah.
So,
She's
yeah.
an adult.
Yeah. She's not a child. She is a stepchild, but an adult stepchild.
Yeah. So Lisa first called the police on January 3rd, 2022, and she told them that she suspected her husband had been trying to poison her. She said she'd been hospitalized 6 times over the past weeks with unexplained headaches, drowsiness, diarrhea, and more. Lisa said that she tested positive for MDMA, cocaine, and benzodiazepines while she was at the hospital. However, she denied ever having using the drugs that were found in her system. So when they went to Alfred's home to question him about this, police reportedly heard him say that he had indeed been spiking his wife's drink with an unknown substance, given to him by his wife's daughter. I like it's like they heard him say it. Did he not say it to them? Was he just talking about it? The wife was then able to provide the police with a pill bottle full of this off-white powdery substance and also a Coca-Cola can with the off-white residue on it. So Alfred told police that Lisa's daughter and a friend of the daughter knew about the poisoning attempts. Alfred said they suggested it and that they would put on a show for him when Lisa fell asleep, which I don't even want to know. So this info is from Fox 59. It says, Alfred allegedly told police how his wife's daughter from a previous marriage had given him a pill bottle with a white powder inside around 3 months ago. The daughter, who he admitted he'd been having sex with, reportedly told him to put the powder into his wife's drink. Alfred stated that the substance would then make his wife go to sleep for approximately 13 hours or so. He stated that he would do this to eventually kill her. Police said Alfred explained how the daughter and a friend had told him to sprinkle the powder into the wife's Coke can and wait for her to fall asleep. The daughter and friend would then reportedly come to Alfred's house and put on a show. Alfred said that while he was having sex with one of the women, the other would go through the home and steal Lisa's personal belongings. Alfred said he paid the women for sex. The daughter reportedly told Alfred that they should, quote, get mom out of the picture and inherit the life insurance policy. Alfred also claimed that the daughter would want to get married to him after they took care of his wife, which I'm sure she did not.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're being scammed, Alfred. Alfred admitted to police that between September and December 2021, he attempted to poison Lisa 12 times. Alfred took Lisa to the hospital following 6 of the poisoning attempts.
I just can't even imagine that there, like, why there wasn't more investigation into this. Like, if she's gone to hospital 6 times, surely after the first few times, they should be like, what is going on here? And there surely has to be more to the story than you just getting sick. Maybe they just thought she was taking the drugs and had overdosed. I don't know.
Yeah, true, because a lot of times people
They'll
who
deny
do
it,
take
yeah.
drugs, they'll be like, I didn't take those. Every time he said the daughter and her friend would come over once the wife was asleep. The police wrote in their report, Alfred stated that he knew the substance would eventually kill his wife and that it was their ultimate goal to kill her. It's just like the stories I'm talking about. I can't believe how heartless people are.
Yeah.
So there's 2 versions of the story about how Lisa found out about the poisoning. One version says that Alfred admitted it to her because he felt bad, and Lisa's version was that she confronted Alfred after being suspicious that he admitted to drugging her so that he could sleep with the daughter and her friend. I believe Lisa.
So do I.
In July 2024, Alfred pleaded guilty to aggravated battery, and in August 2024, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 5 years probation.
I feel like that's such a low
I wonder if the
term.
daughter and the friend are going to get charged too.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he was the one who drugged them. Like, I know that they gave him the drugs,
True.
but I haven't read anything anywhere about the daughter being charged or anything like that. But I feel like surely this could be more like attempted murder, not just aggravated battery.
Yeah,
but maybe
I guess because he
there
pled
was some
guilty.
type of deal. It just seems like 4 years for trying to kill your wife 12 times seems like a pretty lax sentence.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just because he took a plea deal. I don't know if maybe they felt it would have been hard to prove that he was drugging her.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's maybe and also because I feel like sometimes when they're old, like in their 70s, even though people can live longer than that, they're like, you're probably gonna die soon.
Before we continue on with the episode, today's show is brought to you by IQ Bar. I had my vanilla spice IQ Joe this morning. I really, really love having one every single day. I hate with normal coffee how it gives me the jitters. I really do not need it. Any more jitters, anything else like that in my life. That's why I love having an IQ Joe in the morning. I love that it boosts focus and mood with its magnesium and not lion's mane blend. Fall has never tasted this good. The limited edition pumpkin spice flavors are back in action. You need to get them now before it's gone while supplies last. Start each day right with IQ bars, brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The ultimate sample pack includes all three. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners an exclusive deal. 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping.
The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 7 IQ Bars, 4 IQ Mix Sticks, and 4 IQ Joe Sticks. The IQ Joe also comes in 4 delicious flavors that taste better than any brewed coffee. There's Original Black, Vanilla Spice, Cafe Mocha, Toasted Hazelnut. Plus, there is the limited edition pumpkin spice for the fall while supplies last. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, just text CRIME to 64,000. Text CRIME to 64,000. That's CRIME to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. So the next poison case that we're going to talk about is regarding a pregnant woman who was poisoned by her husband in an attempt to induce an abortion, which is just sick.
And the sentence in this one is mind-blowing as well. Like, it's unbelievable.
And just wanted to give you guys a trigger warning. Obviously, this will be talking a bit about pregnancy and abortion and things like that. So I understand that can be upsetting to some people. So if you don't want to hear about that, just skip ahead a bit to our last poisoning story.
It's been 2 years and countless hearings for a woman who nearly lost her baby at the hands of her own husband.
It's been a very long 2 years. This should never have happened in the first place.
Catherine Herring contacted police in 2022 when she realized her husband was drugging her to terminate her pregnancy. Court records show Mason Herring would pour a powdery substance into his pregnant wife's drinks, later tested and confirmed to be an abortion-inducing medication.
For 2 years, my husband has overtly denied this assault, and I'm grateful today that he's finally admitted to his guilt.
So in March 2022, Texas woman Catherine Herring was 7 weeks pregnant with her third child. Catherine and her husband, Mason, who was an attorney, had been having marital issues. They'd been married for over a decade, but Catherine started to suspect that he was having an affair. As some background into them, Mason was a personal injury attorney, and Catherine is an artist who makes custom invitations and stationery. Mason asked Catherine for a separation around a week before she found out she was pregnant. When she first told Mason, she said that he had a negative reaction, and after that evening, he sent her text messages expressing that he was not happy about the pregnancy and didn't know what to do. He allegedly told her that the pregnancy would ruin his plans and make him look like a jerk. Maybe you are a jerk. Their counselor suggested that the two spend spring break together, according to the complaint. Catherine spoke about that time. She said, everything was going along as normal in a married life. We'd been on a trip the weekend before, but he was open to marriage counseling and was telling me everything was fine. He was like, don't worry, don't be upset. I need to work on myself and everything will be fine. Mason and Catherine had recently moved to Houston with their other 2 young children, and they were still decorating the house together and picking out new furniture. After they spent spring break together in March 2022, Mason said to Catherine, I noticed during spring break that you don't drink enough water, and I think you should start every day with a big glass. It'll make you feel better. So Catherine became violently ill after she drank a glass of water that Mason had poured for her. She went to a doctor and nobody could figure out what caused her to be so sick. I feel like that's a reoccurring theme with poisonings, unfortunately, is this person has to suffer a good amount before it gets figured out because the doctor's like, we don't know why this is happening to you.
Even with the dentist and Angela Craig, James and Angela Craig, like she was texting him from the hospital when she was dying, basically, saying they don't know what's wrong with me and things like that.
And the only reason they really figured it out was because his staff told on him that he ordered cyanide. So she became suspicious, obviously. She started collecting the drinks that Mason would prepare for her, and she set up some cameras outside the house. She asked Mason once why a drink that he gave her was cloudy, and he said that it was perhaps due to some dirty pipes or maybe that the cup was dirty. It's also, the whole thing is just like, this guy's so stupid.
Yeah. And also he treats her like she has an IQ of 10.
Like she's an idiot.
Yeah. Like, I'm so glad that she did this and set up the cameras and did all the investigation, because he just really seems like he was so arrogant and he just thought he could get away with doing this and treating her like a child and that she would have no idea.
But even just like, if my husband started being like, I will pour you this water every single morning and you will drink this water, I'd be like, I pour my own water. Or I just think it was weird. Sure, I guess you could be like, oh, that's nice of you, but I would just think it was weird.
Yeah.
Catherine saw Mason on the CCTV cameras, put it in the trash out, and she went to check the garbage can. And in there, she found a package for a drug that induces abortions. She then hired a private investigator and put cameras in the air conditioning vent in the kitchen. The same day, she says, my husband came to my house and made me a drink in the kitchen, and his actions were caught on camera. The video captured Mason pouring juice into a pink plastic cup, then pulling a Ziploc bag out of his pocket containing crushed up pills, which he dumped into the cup. She said the amount that he was using was just shocking. You could see it, 1/2 inch to 1 inch in each drink. After that, Mason, quote, just casually walked the drink up and left it on my bedside table, she said. Catherine was deeply upset by the video, obviously. There was a lot of emotions, she said. To actually see him doing it was shocking. I desperately wanted to be wrong. Mason was initially charged with felony assault to induce abortion, but accepted a plea agreement in February to charges of injury to a child and assault of a pregnant person. And he was sentenced to 180 days in jail and 10 years probation.
It's crazy.
As of March 2024, Catherine and Mason's divorce is proceeding in court. For Catherine, the sentence of 180 days in jail is not sufficient. Their daughter, Josephine, she says, was born 10 weeks premature in August 2022 and has spent more than 3 months in the hospital. She said, I just don't think 180 days is justice for attempting to kill your child 7 separate times. It was intentional. It was knowingly done. It wasn't a crime of passion or something like that. This was over the course of 2 months and 7 rounds of attempted murder. If you divide it up, he's serving less than 26 days per attempt to kill my child. Which also, he has burdened her life by, this child could have like some disabilities or challenges because of what he did.
Only because of what he did, yeah.
Yeah. And now she's going to have to compensate for that. And he essentially just gave her all this trauma and robbed her of a happy life. Like, yes, she could still be a happy life, but he certainly made it much more difficult and something that will go on for the rest of this child's life. So Josephine, the daughter, she has to attend therapy 8 times per week and has developmental delays. After his sentence, his attorney said the punishment was reasonable. He said, it's a sad situation, and Mason has accepted his responsibility. Despite this statement, in April 2024, Mason appealed to be released from jail early.
This was when
the judge denied.
He'd served around half of his sentence. So 180 days is 6 months. So he'd served 3 months, basically, and he wanted to get out.
Thankfully, the judge denied his request, but it's like, dude, get fucked. Like, hello?
Suck up. Your 6 months will be over in a second. Like, what an idiot.
Like, you're already getting off so lightly, and it just looks so shitty to not even be apologetic, essentially. To not even feel bad. You tried to murder a baby. And could have murdered your wife, even ex-wife as well. Whatever. So Mason was due to be released from jail at the end of August 2024.
I've had a look. I can't find anything online about him being released. There's been no new articles. I'm assuming he got out. Like, I haven't read that there was any reason for him not to get out. So he's probably just trying to keep a low profile. I did look up his attorney status on the Texas website, and it says that he has now been barred from practicing in Texas. So that is a good outcome. I don't know if that means he can practice in other states. The Texas one, I guess you have to be licensed in a state. So he's no longer licensed and able to practice in Texas, which is a good outcome. But I guess also on the other hand, how is he going to support these 3 children? The one that has, additional needs, now that he can't work either. So he's just screwed up everyone's lives.
Yeah, what a fucking dickhead.
All right, so the last case is about a female. to, even things up a little bit. It's not always the husband. Mostly it is, but not always. So this case is about Lana and Stephen Clayton. Lana has been found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and also charges of tampering with food and drugs following the July 2018 death of Stephen. Lana has admitted that she poisoned Stephen by putting eye drops into his water.
This morning, a South Carolina woman is sentenced to over 20 years in prison after pleading guilty to killing her husband with eye drops.
I am truly sorry.
Prosecutors say, motivated by greed, nurse Lana Clayton secretly poisoned her wealthy husband by putting eye drops in his water for 3 days, taking his computer and phone so he couldn't call for help.
He lay there helpless Thursday and Friday, waking up periodically from his misery, thirsty, drinking more water.
Lana claimed her husband, Stephen Clayton, was abusive and that she poisoned him only once, hoping to punish, not kill him.
I did impulsively put the Visine in Stephen's drink, and I did it with the intent to make him sick and uncomfortable.
Her attorney says she expected the result to be like this scene from the movie Wedding Crashers, where Bradley Cooper's character gets sick after drinking eye drops.
Oh, no.
In an exclusive interview with ABC News, Stephen's sister Rosemary says the reality was much darker.
I think my brother was screaming for his life.
Stephen Clayton was found dead on July 2018 at the bottom of the stairs of his Lake Whaley home. Police initially thought he'd suffered a fatal fall or a heart attack, but Rosemary says Lana immediately started acting strangely.
Financial records, papers, artwork, mementos, everything that you can think of that she could throw into the fire pit, she threw into the fire pit, including their bed.
She threw their bed into the fire pit.
She says her brother's will also seemingly vanished.
So your brother told you he had a will, your nephew saw the will, and now the will is gone.
That's right.
So as some background into Stephen, he was born on May 1st, 1954 in Miami in Florida. He worked his way through college as a construction laborer. He would study and become a certified public accountant. He then founded a sports rehab company called Physical Therapy Resources, and this was really successful. And he was able to retire at the age of 41. That's young. So he must have done very, very well for himself. According to his obituary, he then pursued his love of world travel. By the age of 59 in 2013, though, Stephen had been married and divorced 6 times. So, I don't know, he'd had a bit of a tumultuous love life, yeah. After his 6th divorce, he met Lana. Lana was a nurse from Oklahoma, and Steve said he was attracted to her caring spirit. They got married in 2015 and moved into their home in Lake Wiley in South Carolina. So there are some kind of realtor sites of this house. It's wild. It looks like a, I don't even know. It doesn't look like a real house to me. It looks like they modeled it on, I believe, like a presidential home. It's got the columns in the front, the pillars. It's very extra.
Wow.
It's sold in 2021 for $1.4 million. I'm just seeing if it's got any.
It does look very presidential.
Yeah, very presidential. Sorry, the pages. It says, this splendid Greek revival home, customized with Charleston charm, sits on 2+ acres of prime dockable waterfront property. Built in 2007 to replicate a Virginian estate, it offers the ambience of a historical home with the conveniences of a modern-day kitchen, blah, 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 blah. So it goes
Not that I
into
could
it.
ever afford it. I don't love the inside. Very outdated.
Yeah, it's but anyway, it's a very palatial home, yeah. So Stephen was 64 when he was found lying on the ground unresponsive at the bottom of a staircase in the home. Lana has said that she'd been mowing the lawn and she found Stephen when she came inside. She ran for help and flagged down a motorcyclist to call 911, which is a red flag right there. Like, why didn't she call? I don't know. It just seems like a weird aspect of it. I'm sure she had a phone, but she didn't call. I'm assuming that she was trying to buy a little bit more time.
Yeah.
When police arrived at the home, Lana told police that Stephen had been ill and in bed for 2 days. She also said that he had refused to see a doctor. She told police that she hadn't been able to do CPR on him because he was too heavy for her to turn onto his back. So I'm assuming he was found lying face down, which is lucky for her because then she wasn't able to turn him over to try and attempt CPR to save his life. Stephen passed away and his body was taken for an examination. A preliminary exam by the coroner revealed no signs of bruises or abrasions, and it was clear from the examiner's assessment that he hadn't fallen and caused his death. Discoloration of his body also suggested that he had a heart attack. So I've seen some photos of him. He looks a little bit heavy set. He doesn't look the absolute healthiest, so I guess it's not unreasonable to assume that a heart attack at the age of 64 might have been the cause of death at first.
Mm-hmm.
Lana requested that no autopsy be performed. She claimed that she
Red flag.
Yeah, she claimed that she was worried the autopsy would reveal that Stephen had been smoking marijuana, and that would be embarrassing for his family to know. So they released Stephen's body to the funeral home. Also shades of Tammy and Chad Daybell. He didn't want her to have the autopsy either. But anyway, however, an investigator who worked the case and who knew the family made some unsettling observations. He said that there were signs that Stephen had been in bed so long that there was a puddle of urine underneath it. So that kind of indicates that he'd been in there for, he hadn't been able to get up to go to the bathroom. That's how sick he was.
Yeah.
Investigators were also unable to find his phone, which is said to be unusual, and that he used his phone quite a lot, but it wasn't able to be found. Lana also claimed that Stephen did not have a will, which other family members expressed doubt about, especially someone with a whole bunch of money. You would think that he would likely have a will.
Yeah.
As their suspicions grew, Steve's family asked Dr. Sabrina Gast, who's the York County coroner, to carry out an autopsy. The autopsy revealed that Steve had several health issues that may have contributed to a natural death, including an enlarged heart, gallbladder disease, and congested lungs. But in mid-August, the toxicology report came back and immediately they raised red flags. There was a significant presence of tetrahydrozoline, which is a chemical found in eye drops found in the report. Stephen's body had 30 times what would be the normal rate if he used eye drops therapeutically. If ingested, the drug can cause cardiovascular and respiratory issues, and it can cause death. After these findings were released, police began to look deeper into Lana and Stephen's relationship. In 2016, Lana apparently shot Steve with a crossbow while he was sleeping. During the crossbow incident, Lana told police she was trying to load the crossbow when it accidentally went off. There was
just in the bedroom? Or where was he sleeping?
While he was sleeping. What was she doing with the crossbow in the bedroom? Or even if he was on a couch, why is she loading a crossbow in a place where he's sleeping? It's very strange. There was a report obtained by the Herald, and it said she said he woke up yelling and bleeding from the wound. So Stephen told authorities that it had been an accident and no charges were filed in connection to the incident. Lana met with police to discuss Stephen's death on August 29th, 2018. Lana said that she knew what the drug was. She told police that Stephen put the eye drops in his coffee on a regular basis. They asked her that why, as a nurse who knew what the drug was, would she let Stephen put the poison in his coffee? She said she didn't think the eye drops could be anything serious. When detectives pushed Lana, she became defensive and asked for a lawyer. Police also said there were inconsistencies in Lana's story about what she did after she found Steve at the bottom of the stairs. Police went back and searched the home again, and Lana admitted to them at this point that Steve was controlling, manipulative, and prone to anger. And she also said, "I did put Visine in his water." She also said that Steve was violent and that he had hit her, and she claimed that she had fired the crossbow to protect herself. A co-worker apparently told her that she could get even with Stephen by putting Visine in his drink and that it would simply cause him to have diarrhea. She admitted that she emptied a whole container of eye drops into his water. She said, "I squeezed it hard. I was just so angry. I wanted him to have diarrhea and to be miserable." She admitted to putting the eye drops in his drinks up to 2 days prior to his death, and she said that she knew the eye drops would be colourless and tasteless and that he would not detect the substance in the drink. Lana told police that she never wanted to kill Steve or even to do him harm. His family released a statement at the time, and it said, "The family is shocked and mortified at the cause of his death. All of our family and friends know how much he loved his wife, Lana, and how devoted he was to her." The solicitor for the family, Kevin Brackett, alleged that Lana had killed Stephen for his money. He also claimed that she burned his will so it couldn't be found, and that she threw his phone in a lake so he couldn't call for help. So they're insinuating that he was so sick in bed he couldn't get up. She took his phone, which would have been the only way that he could have got anyone to help him. Lana's trial began on January 17th, 2020. Her attorney said that she had been a victim of sexual abuse in the past and that Stephen had hit her, kicked her, and choked her during their 5-year marriage. Lana told the judge, "I wanted him to leave me alone." Rosemary Clayton Leslie, who's Stephen's sister, though, disputed these claims and said that Stephen had never abused Lana. She told Good Morning America, "He was so funny and he was so affectionate and caring. My brother was the type of person who loved romance. He was a hopeless romantic and he was a wonderful man, a wonderful brother, and an amazing friend." Rosemary also said that she's convinced that Lana began poisoning him long before he died with the intention of killing him slowly. She said, "My brother was strong and he was healthy. He had gone through multiple bizarre illnesses over the last few years since he'd been with Lana, but we really chalked it up to him just having ear problems or benign positional vertigo. My brother was very much a proponent of traditional Chinese medicine." She also said that Stephen had spent a lot of time with a, quote, "incredible acupuncturist in the Charlotte area who she spoke to frequently about his death." She said, "I had many conversations with him and he was also perplexed because as many of the treatments he tried on him, they couldn't get to the nitty-gritty of why he continued to do so poorly. And I think that it was the perfect combination for her, knowing that he was not a person who relied on traditional Western medicine." Rosemary also said she knew he wasn't going to go out and have blood drawn and they weren't going to find the things that she was putting into his system, which was more than just eye drops. The judge told Lana in court, "How can you maintain you did this to teach him a lesson when it's obvious from the facts that you let him suffer for 3 days and you ignored him?" So Lana pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and tampering with food or a drug causing death, and she was sentenced to 25 years in prison without parole. I feel like she's the only one out of all these 3 cases that seems to have been given an appropriate sentence. Even though 25 years
woman.
is still not a lot for someone's life, yeah. But still, it's more than 180 days or 4 years for, And obviously, this is the only case where someone did die.
And she pled guilty too.
Yeah. So it's interesting just to see kind of the disparity and the differences between the sentences given to all these people. Because all 3 of the cases could have had a murder outcome or a death outcome. The other 2 just were lucky that it didn't come to that. So, 3 very interesting cases today, very different cases, all different motives. Obviously Lana probably wanted to get rid of Stephen for his money. He may have been abusive. Mason didn't want his wife to carry on with the pregnancy, and Alfred just wanted to sleep with his wife's daughter. But anyway, very interesting, but just shows you that what range of crimes and scenarios poisoning is used in. I did find an interesting article from the Washington Post, and it basically said that poison is used in just 0.5% of murders. It says the definition of poison includes using standard poisons and murdering with a poisonous use of narcotics or sleeping pills, but it does not include poisonous gas, which is put under asphyxiation. It says that the data that they looked at had 195,000 murder cases, and with that 901 listed poison in the data. The vast majority of poison cases involved one killer and one victim, and they knew each other well, which is the case in all 3 of the ones that we discussed today. And it also, interestingly, it says women are 7 times as likely as men to choose poison as their murder weapon. So there's 9 male killers for every 1 female killer, which I feel is pretty generic, pretty standard in terms of murder ratios anyway. There's probably, there are more male murderers than female murderers. But it says, but amongst male murderers, poison is used in just over 1/3 of 1% of killings. But for women, it is used in more than 2.5% of killings. So still a small amount, but a much larger amount than in male murders. I feel like it's just because women are generally...
It's harder for them to overpower people. Like a man... If a woman is trying to kill a man, it's going to be harder for her to do, especially if she doesn't have access to like a weapon, anything like that. So I see why women turn to it more, whereas men, they can generally overpower most women.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't choose poisoning in general because I feel like it leaves a big trail generally. Like people, if you don't know off the top of your head and it's not just something you have enough of in your house, people have to research it, and then you got the Google searches. You have to find something that like they're not going to taste or pick up on. Then if you don't have enough of it, you have to buy it, and then there's the residue and blah, blah, blah. They're going to get sick. They're going to go to the doctor. I just feel like it seems like a lot more chances to get caught.
I do feel like poisoning too is a very personal way to murder someone. It's not like you've just got a gun and you shoot someone during a fight. Like with poisoning, it involves generally all the time pretty much premeditation. Like I know eye drops are easier to obtain, for example, than the drugs that Alfred used or the abortion drugs that Mason used. Like anyone can get eye drops. But it involves some thought, some planning. Often poison doesn't kill people straight away. It has to be built up over time.
And you have to lie to their face.
Yeah, depending on the type of poison used, obviously. But even in the James and Ashley Craig one, he used cyanide, which is extremely poisonous, and she still didn't die straight away. So it's something that you need to have continual access to someone to poison them over a long period of time. So that implies that it's someone who you likely live with or have a lot to do with continually. So yeah, it's a very, very personal way to murder someone.
Yeah, and it's just like, now that I'm thinking about it, it is super messed up that for the slower ones that go over time, like when you shoot someone or stab someone and they're dying, like they know you are killing them, and you don't have to be like, oh, that's like so weird. I wonder why like you're not feeling good. You're literally lying to their face, and you know you are killing them, and you're seeing them upset and suffering, and you're still just like, wow, that's so weird. Like I have no idea what's going on. Like maybe you should go to the doctor. Like crazy. There's not a lot of other ways in killing someone where you're doing that.
Yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon, just why people choose the method that they do in terms of murder. I feel like poison, like eye drops, you can't get much more basic and readily available than that.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even ever thought about that.
I always knew eye drops were poisonous. Like I don't know if I ever knew they could be fatal, but I knew they could make you very sick.
I don't even think I knew that. I mean,
it's crazy
maybe I
that
was told once.
it's crazy that a drug, well, it is a drug, but something that you put in your eyes can also kill you.
Yeah, it just seems like so harmless. That is it for this episode. Those are the 3 cases. I'm sure there's plenty more we could talk about, so we could always do another one of these when we gather a few more cases. But that is it for all of these. If there's any I don't think there'll be updates really for any of them.
No, unless we hear anything else about Mason. I spent a lot of time going down the rabbit hole trying to figure out what he's doing if he's out of jail. I'm assuming, he would have only
He'll
just
turn
gotten
up
out.
again.
Yeah. He's keeping a low profile for now. His wife does have she's got like an online shop and things like that. So she's still out there. I'm just waiting for him to pop up, probably in jail again.
We'll be on the lookout.
Yeah.
So everything will be on our blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. If we find anything about Mason, we'll post it there. We also just post updates there all the time with various cases. So you can follow us at True Crime Society on Instagram. You want to follow our personal accounts. Mine is StephSum_. Olivia's TCS Olivia, if you want to see what we're up to. We're also on Patreon now, so if you want to listen to any of the episodes ad-free, you could do that there. And we also do a weekly bonus episode, so an extra episode every week, and we have some chats going on there and all of that. So you could check us out on Patreon as well, and just the usual stuff. If you can leave us nice comments and ratings and reviews and whatever system your podcast platform uses, and share the podcast to your Instagram stories or share it with a friend or just tell people about it. It's a big help to us when you guys do stuff like that. But that is it. So thank you guys for listening and stay safe out there. Peace out.